runs to finish the over, 9 from it, 125 for 2. Head is to 62, and they'll need Australia 81 from 48.
Time stood still there for a second as that ball was travelling towards Bumrah, who you thought may just be able to do an Axar Patel and jump and catch it one-handed above his head, but instead he waved it through like an air traffic controller, letting it through the posts. His two outstretched arms, but there's now a meeting in the middle of the pitch between 4 senior players, Kohli, Rohit, the wicketkeeper Rishabh Pant, and the person who's going to be tasked with bowling this over and trying to stem the flow of runs, Axar Patel. I'd imagine Glenn Maxwell on strike is going to continue to want to use the reverse sweep. They are going to try and plug that gap with a deep backward point fielder. The beauty about Maxwell and those wrists that he has, he can hit it both in front and behind square, so don't be surprised if he does flip those hands around, because it does look as though there's going to be no man out on the cover boundary between deep backward point and long off.
Well, Win Predictor has Australia at 45 and India at 55.
It's a good game, isn't it?
Good game, this. Axar Patel in the sunglasses is going to bowl round the wicket to Glenn Maxwell, who's got 18 from 8. 125 for 2 after 12 overs. Australia chasing 206. Axar Patel bowling, slashed behind square towards short third. There's no run. Maxwell's annoyed with himself, feels he's missed out. David Shervington gets in touch and says, why do India have to be in Guyana?
It's TV, isn't it? It's the morning game.
Maxwell swings hard across the line, out towards deep square leg. The ball will be picked up by Ashdeep Singh in front of the Johnson-Charles stand, and 1 run is taken, 126 for 2.
Is that right? It's the 10:30 game to make sure that it's prime time in India.
Evening in India,
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It'll be 8 p.m.
And the other final is 8:30 at night, isn't it? Caribbean time.
To catch the morning.
Other semi-final, yes.
So that, they're late in the day, so that will be the morning game for the Indian TV market. Here comes Axar Patel. This is chopped away towards backward point, and Travis Head is frustrated. There's a cheer around the ground as the required rate just nips up a little bit more, 80 from 45. The partnership's worth 39 now. Here comes Axar into bowl to Head, gives himself some room, gets a single out towards deep backward point. 127 for 2. And that's why in this tournament we've had games that have started at 10:30 in the morning and 8:30 at night. So you might find one game like last night finished at about 1 in the morning, and then you're in position early the next day for a 10:30 start, because it's the intervening hours where India's asleep.
Yep.
And so you need to have cricket when the waking hours and the prime time slots are available. 127 for 2 here. Axar Patel round the wicket to bowl to Maxwell, who swings violently at a ball that goes whistling out on the ground to Ravi Jadeja at deep mid-wicket. This has been a good over, 3 from it, that's all.
There's been a couple of good overs by India here. Just managing to tighten the screw a little bit. Kuldeep's been excellent.
There's 1 over to bowl Kuldeep, 1 for 17 so far. Travis Head swings at a ball which is gently on the bounce to Rohit Sharma. The crowd up and about because just the 3 runs from the over. Stephen Finn, thank you very much to you. Stephen Finn, Ashes winning fast bowler, part of our team. And something to make him and all of us feel a little bit old. It's a story today that we've seen. The England under-19 side have taken on a Young Lions Invitational 11. And Rocky Flintoff, son of former England all-rounder Andrew, playing for the England under-19s, scored 106. And they were taking on that side that featured Archie Vaughan, son of former England captain Michael. Archie scored 85, but the 100 by Rocky Flintoff helped the under-19s to a 2-wicket victory. Bharat Sundaresan back alongside us. That's something to make us all feel entirely ancient, isn't it?
Yeah, they're trying to recreate the 2005 Ashes, it sounds like. What's KP's kid doing?
Here is Kuldeep bowling to Maxwell. Oh, he's got through. Maxwell goes as he advanced to try and take the opportunity, take the risk. It is Kuldeep that strikes in his final over, and Maxwell's so dangerous, so disappointed. He goes. He's been bowled by Kuldeep for 20 from 12. It's 128 for 3.
Yeah, committed too early to that shot, Glenn Maxwell. And he's never really had the best of records against Kuldeep Yadav. I think that was from the back of the hand. Looked like it was the googly, but he got beaten in the air. and then found himself in a position from where he could just swing. He was outside his crease as well, so the ball missed the stumps. He could well have been stumped as well, but Kuldeep Yadav gets his man again. It is a huge breakthrough. And like we predicted, yes, he conceded that 1-6 to Travis Head in his previous over. This Kuldeep Yadav spell is beginning to turn this game once again in India's favour.
Well, as a bowling unit, if you've got one bowler who can bowl at an economy rate under a run a ball, that is pretty dangerous. If you've got two of them, in Bumrah and Kuldeep, then it's a very, very difficult proposition, because you, as a batting side, you've got nowhere to go, really. Marcus Stoinis comes to the middle. Had a tough time with the ball, but he's had a good World Cup. 55 has been his average. He's hit scores of 50 plus on 2 occasions. The strike rate's been just around about 170. He was on this ground where he played a very valuable innings for England, if you see what I mean.
Yes,
in that game against Scotland.
He did.
Here is Kuldeep to bowl to Stoinis, watchfully forward in defence. The required rate, suddenly, is heading towards 2 runs a ball.
How the tables have turned. Last time Australia were in St. Lucia, all the talk was about England going past round 1. Now England are the first team to have qualified for the semis, and Australia are still in a precarious position.
Kuldeep is in, and slapped into the ground by Stoinis, who trots on through for 129 for 3. Char gets in touch and says, "Afternoon all. Enjoying the coverage on my long drive home from Newbury to Birmingham." I have to say, Newbury to Birmingham, for our Australian listeners, is around about, I would say it's probably about 100 miles.
I thought as much.
So I'm not sure that would constitute a long drive.
It's a long drive, yeah, no.
Not necessarily by Australian terms. Here comes Kuldeep bowling to Head, who pulls across the line, into the leg side, into space and for 4. Taking a chance and getting the reward. That's a good shot from Travis Head, who moves to 67. It's 133 for 3. Australia needs 73 from 38. And Jar says, "I've got to say, I'm nervous for England against India's batting lineup. As it stands, it'll be a very tough game on Thursday. Thank you for the coverage throughout the last month. Well, thank you for listening, and hope your journey's going okay." Here comes Kuldeep with a slip in place. Travis Head waiting deep in the crease, and will slap the ball out towards a stalking figure of Hardik Pandya out there on the boundary at deep backward point. 134 for 3.
Yeah, I spoke to a couple of Afghanistan fans in St. Vincent, and they said before the game, they said Glenn Maxwell has become a taboo word in Afghanistan after what he did at the Wankhede. I wonder if that's the same with Travis Head in India. Every time they show up in a big World Cup game, he's there. Or a World Championship final, he's there. Holding fort for Australia at the moment.
Had a brilliant tournament for the Sunrisers as well in the IPL. But he's not such a taboo that he won't be signed by a franchise.
No. They still want him for those 2 months.
Kuldeep with the effort ball to finish things up. You could hear the growl of the extra exertion. The over comes to an end. 14 gone, 135 for 3. And Kuldeep Yadav finishes with 4 overs, 2 for 24. So a fine effort from him. We've still got 2 overs to come from Jasprit Bumrah, Arshdeep Singh as well. Hardik Pandya has been expensive today. He's got 1 over to bowl. Jadeja's only bowled the 1 over, but it went for 17. And Akshar Patel has 2 overs left to bowl in theory. So some combination of all that. But one thing you do know is Bumrah's going to bowl 2 of them.
And that is the big challenge when you're trying to chase down totals against India. You look at the required rate or the equation, you're like, okay, 36 balls, 71 runs. But then you have to think back to, 12 of those balls will be bowled by Bumrah and Arshdeep Singh, who's been tremendous in the death pretty much throughout his T20I career. That is one of his strengths. So it's not going to be easy for Australia.
I think this is a big over. Akshar Patel to Marcus Stoinis. Required rate, 11.83. 71 needed from 36. Akshar Patel to bowl to Marcus Stoinis. He plays the reverse straight into the hands of the fielder, who catches it juggling. And Stoinis goes for 2. Akshar Patel gets his first wicket of the day. Hardik Pandya shares a laugh and a joke with his teammates because it was in, it was out. But crucially, he managed to hang on at the second attempt. It's 135 for 4. Stoinis goes, caught by Hardik off the bowling of Akshar Patel for 2.
Heartbreak for Marcus Stoinis. It's a shot that he's really worked on throughout this tournament. He spent a lot of time in the nets. He's added this shot to his arsenal, pulled it off quite a few times on this ground against Scotland. His first attempt today, he could not have found Hardik Pandya any better. There are two fielders in that position for Akshar Patel. He hit it straight to Hardik. Just bounced off his hand, but not too far. And another big wicket, another big moment for India. It looks like it's just Travis Head versus them once again.
It does. Tim David comes to the middle and he can clear any boundary in the world. And it's certainly the sort of player who will look forward to this challenge. It's probably actually an over or two earlier than he'd normally expect to be coming in. He's very much the finisher in this Australia side. He's a thrilling player to watch. He comes in at 6 with 71 needed from 35.
Yeah, he's played a couple of crucial hands in this World Cup, even though it won't show in his stats. Like you said, Henry often comes out to bat with a dozen deliveries to go. He has a bit of time. He can give himself a couple of balls to just get his eye in.
Punched into the offside by Tim David. The over has gone wicket dot so far. The required rate up to 12.5.
This is why he's inked himself into this side, Akshar Patel.
Coming in again. And David chops at it, misses. It goes thudding into the gloves of Rishabh Pant. Pressure building.
Such a canny T20 bowler. Uses his height beautifully. Not easy to predict, not easy to pick the length off. That was a great example of that. Wasn't short enough.
Hit down the ground. There is a single for Tim David. Nick in touch says, thanks for the commentary of Tim David. Doesn't score over 50 with toast. Well, you got Travis Head there. And 70 needed from 32. He's been brilliant so far. 68 from 35. But he does need to go on. At this point, with the run rate required over 13. It goes up very quickly at this part of the game if you're not keeping up with it. And this is slapped away through cover. It's going to head out to the boundary. It's going to get to that boundary as well. Very valuable runs from the bat of Travis Head, who moves his personal score to 72. He's got that in quite literally double quick time. A strike rate of exactly 200.
This is what he did in Ahmedabad. He was batting, it felt like, on a different pitch to everyone else. It's like the last couple of overs, every time he's on strike, India are under pressure. He keeps finding the boundary.
66 needed from 31. Again, he goes hard at the ball down the ground to the offside it goes. And it'll just be a single. 15 overs gone, so 141 for 4. 65 needed from 30. David's back in touch and says, thanks for the answer about the match time in Guyana. Grudgingly accept it makes sense. My son Matthew wants you to know he's listening too. He's inspired by his participation at All-Stars cricket at our local club.
Well done, Matthew.
He says he bowls, he bats, and he fields. So a promising start. Well, hey, you take that. And Simon says, hello to Henry and the team, listening from under the English Channel on the Eurostar on the way back from Paris. Impressive how the signals remain continuous. You sound great. Thanks for the coverage. Thanks to you, Simon. Lovely to have you with us. Here comes Jeff Lemon to take us to the end of the game.
And here comes Arshdeep Singh back into the attack. What a significant over that could prove to be from Akshar Patel. Just when Travis Head seemed to be getting his own, Akshar Patel comes in, gets rid of Marcus Stoinis. Just 6 runs in that over. That required rate has ballooned now to 13.
Start of a new over. Arshdeep, left arm, bowling to the left-handed Head, who backs away, smacks it at cover and can't get a run because he's hit it straight at India's captain, Rohit Sharma, who falls over to his right in stopping the ball. 141 for 4. Every dot ball absolutely precious here. Australia needs 65 from 29, which means they have to get on to somebody. And they've got 2 overs from Bumrah yet to face. So it's probably not going to be him. Arshdeep has this over and then another one. And then not sure where they'll be looking aside from that. Kuldeep's bowled out. Could be Akshar for another. Arshdeep Singh to Head, who swings it down the leg side, inside edge. Has that been put down by Rishabh Pant? It's got to the fine leg boundary. 141 for 4. Missed everything.
Missed everything. By signal by the umpire. It was just a full toss that Travis Head tried to hit to St. Vincent. It looked like he threw everything at it. And a big as well as the ball went past him, and a big smile, but it beat Rishabh Pant.
Beat the leg stump by about 5 millimetres. and then beat the wicket keeper. So the boundary goes to the extras column. 61 from 28 Australia need. Travis Head on 73. He's the key. Pretty much has to make 100 here if Australia hope to win this game. They've got Tim David in and Matthew Wade next. Both dangerous late innings hitters. Travis Head backing away, drives the Yorker down to long on. Well bowled by Arshdeep, follows him and gets the length just right. 146 for 4.
He's a young man still, Arshdeep, but that Yorker again, he's so consistent with his Yorkers. Like I said, nerves of steel. He's developed quite a reputation for himself, and there will be a lot of talk about the bogeyman, Jasprit Bumrah, but don't write this guy off either.
Yeah, he's an interesting character. So spotted him wandering around town yesterday, and he's not an imposing sort of figure. He doesn't look in civilian clothes. You wouldn't necessarily pick him as an athlete. He's quite slight in build. Sort of looks like a normal young man knocking around the place, but he's up and bowling to Tim David, who's squared up and getting a leading edge to cover along the ground, and it's a dot ball. Another bit of dusted gold. Every scoreless delivery. 146 for 4.
It's a great backstory. He could well have been just another non-cricketing, ordinary Indian expat in North America. Almost ended up moving to Canada as a teenager, but stuck with his cricket. I remember the evening that Rahul Dravid discovered Arshdeep Singh in an under-19 tournament, local, in Mumbai.
He's up again, bowling to Tim David, who's getting a bottom edge as he pulls out to deep square leg. Only 1 run. Australia need boundaries now. 1 to come in this over. Travis Head. Feel he'll have to go after this.
12 runs in the last 11 balls. Not good enough for Australia, the rate at which they need to go at. But yeah, Arshdeep Singh is pretty matured a lot. Bowled that one death over to Pakistan where India lost. I think it was in an Asia Cup and got abused, unfortunately, online and everywhere else. He's overcome that. Not easy to do when you're that young. And he's become a key figure for India in short-form cricket.
147 for 4. And Arshdeep pulls out of his run-up. I'm not sure why. The batter was still in his stance.
This needs to go for 4 or 6. Like I said, that's the thing when you play against India. Every time you're in a run chase, you're like, oh, the bogeyman's coming, the bogeyman's coming. I can see Jasprit Bumrah. I'm not sure he'll bowl the next over. Or he might actually. Might bowl the 17th and the 19th like he generally does.
That would tend to be the way. Arshdeep Singh. Up to Head, who backs away and can only drive it down to long on for 1. An excellent over from Arshdeep Singh. The 4 byes, they don't go against his tally as a bowler. 3 singles, 7 from it. So Australia now need 58 from 24. That's 14 and over. And there'll have to be another over of spin in there somewhere. So that's what they'll have to go for.
He could go to Hardik Pandya again. He's got the experience. He's not had the greatest of mornings or afternoons as Hardik, but you know, IPL captain Rohit Sharma and Hardik have played a lot of cricket with each other. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes Hardik, but I spoke about the bogeyman. He is in, and this is what Jasprit Bumrah can do. He can finish the game off before India or the Indian captain has to worry about those headaches.
Exactly. He'll have Travis Head on strike, so this is all chips into the middle of the table for both teams here, because Travis Head is the best set to face Bumrah, but he's the one who'll have to take the risks against Bumrah. If Travis Head gets out, Australia are unlikely to win this game. If he stays in, they might, but he has to decide what level of risk he's willing to accept. And if he lets this over go by for not many, they'll be almost out of the game as it is. Bumrah round the wicket to Head, backs away, drags a pull shot, only takes 1. They've got deep mid-wicket out. So a reasonable start for Bumrah. Get the set man off strike. Try to work on Tim David. 149 for 4. Australia need 57 from 23 balls.
Yeah, and if you're an IPL fan, this is an all Mumbai Indians contest. Rohit Sharma captain, Jasprit Bumrah bowler, Tim David on strike. They've shared that dressing room for the last 3 or so years. They know all about Tim David's strengths and his hitting zones.
Well, he probably knows a bit about facing Bumrah as well. Bumrah will come back over the wicket, the right armour. That short, stuttering run-up. Flings out a fist, flings down the ball, and Tim David can only whip it out to deep mid-wicket for one. And Australia keep getting singles, and it's not enough. Everyone sends that required rate up. It's all the way up past 15 and over now. They need 56 from 22.
Yeah, they lost their rhythm and their way in the last 2.5 overs. Excellent overs from Akshar Patel and Arshdeep Singh, setting it up for Jasprit Bumrah. And they've given him a lot of runs to play with now. Travis Head has to go. He has to not just find the boundary, but they need a couple of sixes very soon.
Bumrah, round the wicket to Head, backs away, hits it high in the air, will be caught here. This is going to be the game. Rohit Sharma takes the catch. And this has been a revenge mission for India's captain today. He tore him apart with the bat, and he takes the crucial catch with the ball. Travis Head is gone, and Australia might well be going home. He's out for 76 from 43. Was boxed into a corner, had to take the risk against Bumrah, trying to make room, trying to go over the offside, and instead he gives up a steepling catch taken inside the circle. 150 for 5, and Australia drifting. 56 needed from 21.
The bogeyman cometh, the bogeyman take it. He does it over and over and over again for India. Who's that big wicket? Travis Head? All right, here you go. Give me 3 balls. I'll give his wicket to you. That's exactly what he's done. Change of pace from Jasprit Bumrah. So tough to pick. When he rolls his fingers over the ball, Travis Head was trying to hit him way deep over mid-wicket. Got into an awkward position. Skies one up to Rohit Sharma. Great innings from Travis Head. He's done it again against India, but not good enough to take them over the line. Or he's left them in a position from where India would fancy themselves as favourites.
Well, 2 things to consider for Australia here. 56 from 21 they might not get, but closing that gap so they don't get battered on net run rate could still be important. So Matthew Wade to the middle. Even if they can't win it, if they could get within 10 or so, that would potentially keep him in the tournament. Wade driving to backward point, taking on the fielder, and it is misfielded there. Matthew Wade almost wants a second, so the ball goes to backward point, where Jadeja had a rare fumble. Even the good fielders have been fumbling during this World Cup. Wade off the mark with 1, David on 3. 2 balls to come in this over. 151 for 5. They're 55 runs away.
How much would India love being the team that knocks Australia out? They can't do it just by winning, but they can push them to the brink.
Bumrah come up to David. Hulking figure, big off drive, misses the ball. No run. And of course, it's another Bumrah over. He's got 1 ball to come. So far he's gone for how many? 3 runs. The average that he's gone for across this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, Travis Head dared to take him for 14 runs in his second over, back in the power play an hour or so ago. Comes back and gets his man like he always does.
Bumrah, like he's creeping up on Tim David. Bowls in at the stumps, flicked away for 1 out to deep mid-wicket. They want to take the second. Wade is pushing to take on the arm. And in the end, he does it safely because the throw is an absolute shocker from Surya Kumar. It's in the middle of the pitch somehow. So they get 2. David's up to 5. Wade on 1. 153 for 5. Australia somehow need 53 from 18 balls. And even Mike Hussey might struggle to do that from here.
Yeah, fly him in, give him a chance. Mike Hussey, maybe he'll have to roll back the clock a bit if he has to face Jasprit Bumrah and Arshdeep Singh. Yeah, that's how they got into the final. Famously before going down to England and Barbados.
All the way back in 2010.
Yep, 14 years ago.
Taking Syed Ajmal to the cleaners, wasn't it?
He was hitting away from us into the dressing room. And it is a tense Australian dressing room. You can see.
My word, it is.
A lot of crossed arms and hands on chins.
So Wade, he's a heavy striker of the ball. 3 overs to come. They've got to take down Arshdeep Singh here. And then if it's Hardik Pandya again, they've got to take him down to have any hope of even getting close in this game. India, poised. Short third, backward point, deep point, cover, mid-off, long on, deep mid-wicket, deep backward square, and a long leg as Arshdeep Singh, the left armour, will bowl to the left-handed Wade, who backs away, and he's caught at short third. Brilliant catch, diving forward, and that just hung in the air. It was one of those difficult ones, having to figure out when the ball was going to drop off the top edge. Kuldeep Yadav, he's not the most celebrated fielder in this Indian side, but he did well enough to get forward and get hands under it. The umpires will have a look at the low catch, but it looked pretty good live. 153 for 6 as long as this catch is upheld.
Yeah, it looked very clean because it's going from down to up.
Review for a fair
Which you've
catch.
generally seen replays always are kinder to those kinds of catches when a fielder has his hands under the ball or her hands under the ball and is scooping the ball up. And Matthew Wade was not 100% convinced, but also disappointed. So wide delivery from Arshdeep Singh, flashed at it.
A healthy edge to it, but a lot of back spin on that edge, making it dip and dip as it goes to Kuldeep, who takes it in his hands above the ground. And then the backs of his hands hit the ground, so I think that should be okay.
Do you have another angle from him, please?
He seemed pretty confident. At times you can see the body, a fielder's body language can be a giveaway. He was celebrating right away.
Into the hands as he's lunging
if
to his
zoom
right.
For me, please, that would be good. He's at the hands are underneath the ball, but just want to confirm with another angle.
The umpire sounds pretty confident as well.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
No doubt this will be given out momentarily.
Takes the ball above the ground. Hands.
Yeah, his fingers under the ball.
Hands are underneath the ball. Is that the only angles that you have, Deepak? That's the only angles. Okay, yeah. Ball is clearly carried, so I'm ready for my decision on the big screen.
It will be confirmed. Matthew Wade's walking off already before the out is flashed up on the large screen. There it is. 153 for 6. Matthew Wade gone for 1. Pat Cummins the next in. Can launch a few bombs, but he'll need to do that today to get Australia closer. I think that's really all they can hope for at this point, because they could swing hard at everything that comes their way and get themselves bowled out 45 runs short. And that would all but guarantee their passage out of the tournament.
Yeah, and we see, as you see Matthew Wade go off, and I thought about this even when Marcus Stoinis got out. Could this be the last time we're seeing these senior and, in modern times, iconic figures of Australia's white ball cricket?
Hard to imagine that Matthew Wade would go around again, although T20 World Cups do come up pretty often.
Yeah, 2 years from now in India, the next one. So at least nobody will have any concerns with time zones.
Play the games whenever you want.
Yeah, no, there'll be no 10 a.m. starts, or maybe they'll play right through the day. Who knows? We'll have to wait for 2 years. But Pat Cummins, well, if there's one batter in world cricket who can say he's hit Jasprit Bumrah for 4 sixes in an over, it is Pat Cummins, and only Pat Cummins. So maybe he'll fancy himself.
Might as well take the chance. Arshdeep Singh has started his over with a wicket. 153 for 6 Australia. He's in and bowling to Cummins, who's lofting him down the ground. It's hanging in the air. Long off, gets in, but can't get there in time to take the catch. A run for Cummins, 154 for 6. And all of this, I think, comes back to Kuldeep Yadav. The end of the 11th over after Maxwell's taken Jadeja for 17 runs. Kuldeep bowls a really good 5 balls. He gets hit for 6 by Travis Head, but that sort of feels like Australia clawing something back. They get 9 from the over, which is less than they need. And then Akshar Patel bowls that over for 3 runs, cranks up the pressure, and Kuldeep to Glenn Maxwell. You always feel like that's a good matchup for Kuldeep Yadav. Bowls him, stepping down the pitch, not reading the turn back into himself. As Arshdeep bowls to David down the leg side, it's a wide bouncer, 155 for 6 now. And so he just felt that at that point, Maxwell was 19 off 11 balls before that delivery and striking them beautifully. If he'd stayed there another 2 or 3 overs, Australia are well in that game. He's dismissed. Akshar's able to keep the pressure on, get Stoinis out. And the game's pretty much gone there. Even before Travis Head went, it was going to be very much an uphill battle for him.
It's all down to Tim David now.
Well, he can score quickly, but he needs 19 and over. And I don't know if even he can go that quickly. He baseballs it down the ground. It might pick up 4. There's a diving attempted stop down there, but it's just pushed the ball along the boundary line. And in the end, 4 runs are conceded. 159 for 6. It was Kohli giving everything to try to save that boundary. Tim David up to 9.
He did most things right, did Virat Kohli. Just herring after it and put in the dive. He just got too much of his hand to it.
Well, he scooped it back into his own chest. His
Yeah.
own momentum coming forward hit the ball and knocked it forward rather than after he'd scooped it back initially in the direction of the field of play. Arshdeep to David down the leg side. They're appealing for something. There's nothing from the umpire now. There's a signal of wide. So there was no edge on that. Arshdeep thinks there was. He's still talking to Rishabh Pant. 160 for 6.
Yeah, Rishabh saying he didn't hear anything. Rohit Sharma's put his hands up, saying, "Arey, someone say something, yaar."
Nicholas Puran's one last night was outstanding. Down the leg side, the first ball of the chase for Reza Hendricks. Puran was adamant. No one else was interested, but there was an edge. West Indies lost that game just at the last gasp.
Yeah, that's a pity. Felt like the tournament was really coming alive with the West Indies still in it.
160 for 6. Australia need 46 from 15. Even David might struggle to do that. He belts this up in the air. It's travelling down the ground. It'll carry Kohli just at long off for 6. Kohli standing with his heels on the rope and his hand above his eyes like a sailor looking out to sea, finding out what the storm clouds would bring. Well, it was raining cricket balls, but it was raining them over his head. 166 for 6. David up to 15. 40 from 14. Still feels too far away, but a couple more of those, you never know.
That's all that it says on Tim Davis' resume. Hits sixes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't need to know anything else about him. Just hits more sixes than most batters in world cricket. Travels around the world hitting sixes.
2 balls to come in the Arshdeep over. 13 from it already. So can David transfer that pressure back onto Arshdeep Singh? Find another 10, say, from these couple of balls, and then 30 from the last 2. Wouldn't be likely, but it wouldn't be impossible.
But this is what he's built his career on, Tim David. Finishing off games like these.
Tapping the bat, very open stance, waits for the left armour who's up and bowling to him, and he's edging and caught. Well, there's the game, surely. Surely. And at the edge of the circle, at short third, a comfortable catch taken by Bumrah, although he might have just hurt his finger. He's shaking his hand a bit, his right hand, as though he's uncomfortable there, and that could be a concern for India. It's the most important body part in the entire Indian 11. It's Jasprit Bumrah's right hand. So David is out for 15 from 11 balls. He did a bit, took him up to 166. From here, surely all that Cummins and Stark can try to do is see if they can make 20 or 30 of these. And not just swing blindly, but try to close up that gap.
You'd think that has to be the intention from this point on. It's not very often you see a batter getting caught at short third of a full toss. But yeah, Tim David is trying to close the face of his bat. He's got a leading edge to Jasprit Bumrah. And yeah, that suddenly you feel like Australia have lost control of their campaign completely. Now they're dependent on what happens in the night game. Everybody will be tuned in to watch Afghanistan and Bangladesh. And Arshdeep Singh feels like removed the last threat in this Australian batting lineup.
Massive game tonight. Absolutely huge. Arshdeep to finish his over bowls to Stark. Full toss, whipped away to deep backward square. It almost fools Akshar on the bounce, but in the end, he's able to come in and field that ball. Jadeja, rather. 167 for 7 after 18 overs. Australia need 39 from 12 balls, which they're probably not going to do. And initially, when you looked at the Super 8s, you saw that Afghanistan-Bangladesh game at the end of the tournament and thought, well, that might not have much bearing on the result. Right now, it's going to have all of the bearing on the result. You've potentially got 3 teams who might still be able to qualify based on that one game.
And England and South Africa will be watching that game closely as well. It will be South Africa facing Afghanistan if they manage to beat Bangladesh.
Well, yeah, India will finish top, assuming they close this out. So whoever's second will be facing South Africa. It's Bumrah to finish off the kill, and it's a dot ball. No, they're trying to run through for a bye here, and they might actually get it. and they might get another one. Cummins trying to call Stark back as the ball goes over the non-striker stumps and down towards long off, but they'd overrun the crease by too much. So Stark had a big swing at that. It went over the top of his bails. Rishabh didn't glove it cleanly, and Cummins wanted the extra. Every run urgent for Australia.
I wonder if one odd occasion when, like I said, Pat Cummins took down Jasprit Bumrah, hit him for 4 sixes. They go into these matchups. You think the Indian team sat down and said, hey, but careful with Bumrah bowling to Cummins?
168 for 7. It will be Bumrah bowling to Cummins. Taps the bat once and has a huge swipe across the line and misses everything. Rishabh gets it cleanly this time. I can't imagine Bumrah would have been too scared of him.
I don't think so. Yeah, that was just said in jest, and it doesn't look like Australia are too concerned about that net run rate at the moment. They're still swinging for the fences. 38.
Well, I think they still need to swing for the fences, because if they knock it around at a run a ball from here, it'll still be too big a defeat. They'll still lose too much.
Perfect Jasprit Bumrah Yorker. Actually, I take that back. The perfect Jasprit Bumrah Yorker generally knocks the stump out.
Sometimes knocks 2 of the 3 out and leaves the middle one standing.
Yeah. Well, Cummins just has to keep trying.
32 needed from 8. Cummins could keep it alive if he connects with a couple more. Waits for Bumrah, low full toss, squeezes it out to backward point for 1. 175 for 7. Cummins up to 8. 1 to come in Bumrah's over. Stark to face it.
How quickly things can turn around. Just 36 hours ago, Australia was sitting pretty. They'd won all their games. They were ticking boxes. That's what we were all writing about after that Bangladesh game. Oh, the one thing they had was Glenn Maxwell not firing. He's faced just 6 balls, but it looks good. They're peaking at the right time. And all of a sudden, they could well be on the brink of an early exit, which seemed so unlikely, like I said, just 36 hours ago.
Bumrah, he'll come around the wicket to the left-hander. Into Stark, full and straight. Driven down the ground by Stark. Could come back for a second. Cummins wants it. Stark didn't initially. I think he wanted Cummins to have strike, but they do take the second. Everything you can get at this stage of an innings. 177 for 7. Bumrah finishes off with 1 for 29 from his 4. A relatively expensive outing by his standards, but still should be good enough to have beaten Australia, unless they can get 29 from the last over. Well, if it's Hardik Pandya to bowl it, he has gone for 43 off 3. So he couldn't 100% rule it out. We saw Shoaib Bashir go for 38 from an over in first-class cricket today. But 29 off an over, pretty unlikely even in the T20 era.
Yeah, India have used Hardik Pandya many times over the years to bowl the last over. Obviously, the most famous one being against Bangladesh in 2016 when MS Dhoni went to a then very young Hardik Pandya. And even though he's gone for plenty today, they'll still back him, especially with the fact that he has got 29 runs to play with.
Well, he's coming up to Cummins, who leans back and slots a pull shot, but down to long on. They'll come back for the second run here. That's a good bit of running. It was Stark going to the danger end, and he had no hesitation that time. Run for everything, I suppose. They've got 3 wickets in hand. They might as well push to take on some throws, see if they can get those throws a bit more erratic coming in. 179 for 7. Cummins 10, Stark 3. Australia need 27 from 5.
And it'd also be so difficult to write a post-mortem for this Australian team if they were to make this early exit.
Pandya to Cummins, who goes back, pulls into deep mid-wicket. He's caught low, is he? Has it been held? Jadeja says it bounced. Immediately signals to the umpire and says, don't bother wasting your time with that one. I didn't quite get to it coming forward. So they've got a single for it. And had they been sharper there, they might have got back for the second. I think they were expecting the catch to be taken. 180 for 7. Cummins to 11, but he's lost the strike. Mitchell Stark can hit him, but he usually takes a little bit longer to get going.
Yeah, the wind playing a huge role there. Jadeja made good ground, but it felt like just held it back from him.
Might be better for Stark as a left-hander, hitting with the wind. He's waiting for Pandya and a big pull shot, and he misses, and they don't go through for a bye. Cummins wanted to initially, but Rishabh gloved it cleanly and was waiting to lob the ball back towards the stumps. 26 from 3, mathematically impossible, unless there are extras involved.
Plenty of them. Yeah, the Indians continue to march on. They suddenly look like absolute firm favourites.
26, still a big margin in T20 cricket when you're looking at net run rates. India poised here, and it's a slower ball bouncer, and Stark misses with the pull shot. And there's a little bit of interplay between Rishabh and Hardik Pandya, who's not happy with the throw back to him.
Yeah, I said, "Kya kar rahe yaar? What are you doing?" Just smashed into his hand. He's really annoyed with Rishabh Pant.
Who did ping the ball back.
Yeah, it was unnecessary.
180 for 7 still.
Oh, he's still wringing his hand.
So the best Mitchell Stark could do is close this gap to 14 runs. If he could hit a couple of sixes to finish the innings. Pandya up to Stark, who again misses the pull shot from the slower ball bouncer. He's discovered the formula here, Hardik Pandya, and he's not straying from it.
Yeah, this suddenly becomes a huge defeat. You said 26 runs. Even if they get a 6 of this, the margin of defeat would be 19 runs.
About 10% of your total in terms of the difference between the opposition score and your own.
Sure,
Australia only just in the positive anyway on net run rate in this group after the Afghanistan loss. Pandya to finish it off, bowls to Stark, who chops the ball hard into the ground. They run through for 1, and that will be it. India march on, unbeaten. They win by 24 runs. Australia 181 for 7 in reply to India's 205 for 5. They've been well beaten. They were out of the contest for the last few overs, pretty much from about the 12-over mark when Maxwell was out. Stoinis followed an over later. It felt like that was likely it for Australia, and they may well be out of this World Cup. We'll have to wait a moment to see what the net run rate calculations are, but they will have taken some substantial damage there. And Afghanistan will be equal with them on points already, which might mean that even with a really narrow loss, Afghanistan might get through. Bangladesh are a long way behind on net run rate, but with a huge win, they could potentially make that up and end up with 2 points themselves. And this group is open, potentially, for 3 teams to come through in second spot, with India locked in at the top, which means they will play England in Guyana in the second semi-final. Henry?
Indeed, yes, we know that much. That part of the puzzle has now been put into place. So England against India, our coverage of that one will be on Thursday, 3:15, 5 Sports Extra, BBC Sounds for our listeners in the UK. It's the early morning match in Guyana. India against England, a repeat of the semi-final from Adelaide in 2022. England will be hoping for a similar day. That was a memorable match. They won by 10 wickets. India will be hoping they can show the sort of form that has led them to a crushing victory in this game. 24 runs, the margin of it. We now wait for the calculations, the brains trust around the world, to calculate exactly what Afghanistan will need to do against Bangladesh. But the group looks like this. India top of the pile, having played 3 and won 3 on 6 points. Their net run rate outstanding as well. Australia, well, they've played 3, they've won 1 and they've lost 2. Afghanistan have played 2, won 1, lost 1. And Bangladesh at the bottom of the pile played 2 and lost 2. So that is the situation at the moment. Afghanistan, therefore, will have a calculation that is required for them to qualify. That would be, in simple terms, a victory against Bangladesh. They win that game, they go through to the semi-finals to take on South